So let's start.
So today we're looking at chapter 11, cost optimization. Now, first of all, we have to identify the difference between traditional data center and then the cloud, utilizing the cloud. Now, migrating, let me read this so that we ponder on it. Migrating from the data center to the cloud can have a profound
Okay.
effect on an organization technology cost. In most scenarios, a move to the cloud will have a lower total cost of ownership, than with traditional data centers. This is because traditional data centers have high cost to purchase equipment, build data centers, and manage staff of the data center and IT system. These are heavy capital expenditures, CapEx, with a moderate degree of operational expenses, which is OpEx. The list below shows the typical capital and operational expenses with traditional data centers. With a traditional data center, the organization purchases the following equipment: the physical servers, the routers, the switches, firewalls, load balancers, racks, power distribution units, generators, UPS, and then data center cooling system. And then additionally, you look at the OpEx, which is large IT staff, electric bill, electricity bills or electric bills, WAN connections, and internet connection. So back to our topic, cost optimization. Then one thing, so we are looking at the total cost of ownership. Now, from my end, total cost of ownership is the cost of purchasing, deploying, using and retiring a product or equipment.
Okay.
The amount you use to purchase, to deploy, using, and then finally retiring a product or equipment. So when we look at this, managing a traditional data center, we buy everything that we need in our data center.
Exactly.
We want to build our data center traditionally, which
Yeah.
include what we've listed earlier: the physical servers, the router switches, firewalls, balancers, power distributions, generators, data center cooling system, and what have you. In addition, we need to have staff that will be working within the data center or at the data center. So we'll be paying operating costs or operating expenses, which include it comes concurrently. So the IT staff, electricity bills, the amount we have to use in connection. So basically, that's from my end.
I agree with that. So I think that's one of the selling points of the cloud. Yeah. Where you're comparing the OPS and the KPS, especially in terms of the KPS. So that's the cost of setting up basically. If you, just as you said, if you make your mind up that you want to set up um, your your own
Data center.
service, yes, like a data center for your activities, it's going to cost you a lot upfront. That's upfront payment. You have to purchase all those things. So but when you are moving to the cloud, all those things have been made available. And just as they say, you pay as you use. And that makes the cloud a better choice than having a local data center in terms of when we are looking at uh, the capital expenses that are required. Yes, so
Hmm,
I agree
yes,
to that.
yes, makes sense. So I move on to optimizing technology costs on the AWS cloud. So now we've realized that there is an advantage, though traditional data center helps with some form of security and what have you. But then moving to the cloud has its own benefit.
Yeah.
having its own benefits. We have to know how to go around it, how to use it. Because if you don't use the right tool for the right work, it means we are going to incur cost for the business.
Okay.
We
Okay.
are going to look at how we can optimize some technology costs in the cloud. So moving
Okay.
to the cloud changes the cost structure completely. In the cloud computing environment, there is a minimal purchase option. So CapEx is very low. So what happens in the traditional data center is originally, since we are buying everything, the CapEx, which is the capital expense, is very high, and then operating expenses is low. However, when you move to the cloud, you realize that since we are renting, they have their servers, they have their infrastructures, they have their
Okay.
serverless things that we can use. So what happens is we are renting. So initially, we are not going to pay any higher cost. So the CapEx is very low when you are moving to the cloud. And then the operating expenses is very high when you go to the cloud. Why am I saying this? Because when you go to the cloud, you need an expert, an architect to design for you. You need DevOps, you need the cloud engineer, you need a lot of people to monitor and then design the cloud for you. So, accounting, however, the organization pays every time cloud services are used, and
Right.
usage can get quite expensive. Therefore, with cloud computing, while CapEx is low, as I mentioned earlier, OpEx is high, the operating expense is very high. Generally speaking, moving to the cloud will have a lower total cost of ownership than with traditional data center. So it means over here there is an advantage of cloud when it comes in terms of cost. It
Yeah.
rests on cost. There's an advantage when it comes to the cost than using the traditional data center. Furthermore, the better cloud architecture, when the better cloud architecture is designed, the lower total cost for cloud computing. So as stated earlier, if you get a good architecture to help you provision the right resources, then it means your cost will lower. There are 5 steps to lowering your cost in cloud computing. So there are steps if you want to lower cost. So before we go there, I think you have to come in and then share your thought on that before we move on to
Okay.
how we
Okay.
lower
So
the cost in the cloud.
yes. So I totally agree with the fact that, as we mentioned, the amount of money you pump into getting started, like before you get started with your data center, the amount of money you pump into it. So relatively, we pump so much money when we want to have our own data center as compared to when we want to adopt the cloud. In fact, to adopt the cloud, you practically may not even have to pump any money in because an account, creating an account is free. So just create an account and you have access to all those servers, all those things that you would have spent a lot of money to set up a data center for. Okay, but with regards to the operational expenses, that is where there is an issue because then almost every service or someone with specialized knowledge to be able to do and you also need to put in measures to prevent the cost from going high. If we compare operational costs in using the that of the cloud against when you are using or you're operating on your own data center, the cost on operating your own data center may be somehow lower, relatively lower, in that if you have already purchased upfront, you've purchased the servers, you've purchased all the softwares that you need, and every other thing, you can freely use them throughout, except that you may pay for maintenance, you may pay for staff, support staff, and things. So it's not as if there is no operational cost. There is an operational cost compared that in the cloud you pay for almost every single thing that you do as compared to the open cloud usage very well. You end up also paying way lesser than you may even pay whilst using the traditional one. Yeah, so that is my opinion on that.
Okay. That actually tingles. It makes sense. Actually, it makes sense. So now we're looking at how we can lower the cost when we are
Yeah,
using
yeah, the
cloud.
operational cost.
Yes. So first of all, you provision only the resources needed
Mm,
as you pay for all resources. So in this case, when you want to do anything in the cloud, that's why we need architectures for them to
yeah,
design our architecture for us, our data center for us, our cloud for us, to know which service to use at which point in time. So that if it's just a basic website, a static website, I can use just S3 with Cloudfront and maybe around 53. There's no need for me to use some additional resources, or you can shift to a serverless and then use it. We don't use anything beyond what we need. So that's it for my end. Monitor your system to get insight into the proper side of compute and network. So in this case, to use a tool like CloudWatch to monitor your system, to give you feedback, insight to if there's a need to provision more resources, then you need to do so. So that's it from my end for step one.
mm, yeah, exactly. So just as the point, you have to be careful what you use. But I think even with this, it also offers us some kind of an advantage because um, so the only thing that at every point in time is only the service that we are using or we really need that is provision to work. Okay, so you don't just go and start turning on things like you have EC2 instances, about four of them running. Meanwhile, you're not using them. You have some S3 buckets that files that you don't even need, you don't require, you store them in there and you're pulling them in and out when you don't need them. So I think that's a very good point, and it's in fact it should be like the basic thing for
Mm,
everyone adopting the cloud to do.
sure, sure, sure.
Don't go there if you don't need it. You only
Yes,
use
yes,
what you need, and
exactly,
that will
exactly,
limit your cost.
exactly, exactly. Then you properly size your resources.
Yeah.
In sizing your resources, and there are types of, for example, let me take the EC2 for instance. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use EC2, realize that we have sizes of EC2. If
Yeah.
I'm just hosting a basic website, for example, there's no need I have to go for a higher one, maybe a T2 or T3 or what have you. A smaller version can help me do what I want to do. So there's no need I
Mm-hmm.
have to go and purchase a bigger compute to waste resources. And then
Yeah.
I plan the size and equipment based upon the average use, not the peak. So we can do this by this is my requirements. This is the amount of traffic that comes through my resource. So I need to use this one. and then provision or leverage on auto scaling so that they run mostly during some periods like Black Fridays. You realize that there is a peak in the number of people rushing to our website. So in that case, you can leverage on auto scale to increase the size or launch new service so that we don't go offline or then our service crash. And we can leverage on decoupling system in the architecture when possible. For example, using SKOS. Okay, so decoupling, that's preventing putting all resources together, decoupling in microservices so that there is a, when there is a breakage or there is how do I put it? When there is a problem with one side, we easily identify it. It talks about adding queues. So we use queues to cache things and then what have you. Yeah, so that's it for step 2.
I think my network is really messing up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So over here too, I think there is an important point to note that in a traditional center, you usually calculate like what would be our peak. Then you go and purchase it. Let's say let's use compute power for instance. Even with these our computers that you are using, let's say RAM, CPU, speed, and things. You look at what's the highest I can go. Okay, so that I make provisions for that. Then I go and purchase it. And meanwhile, that highest I can go can be like one in 365 days. Like once in 365 days, or even in the whole year, I may not even reach that peak. But I have to make provision for the peak because at the end of the day, if it happens such that there is a particular day that we need that peak, we reach that peak, we don't want our systems calm down crashing. Okay, so upfront you have to make available all those things, and it's a lot of cost. But in the cloud, we are just using what we need right now. Like that's all we are concerned with. We are not going to make provision for things that we don't need right now. Because at any point in time when our need increases, we are going to be able to scale up to meet that need in the cloud. So I think that is a very good advantage that the cloud has over our local, setting up a local data center. And the other thing is that if you set up a local data center and you've made provision for your peak performance and you realize that you're underutilizing it, then at the end of the day, it's just waste of resources. Assuming you bought a service with storage of about, let's say, 400 gig, because you felt that, you are going to be getting a lot of things. Maybe you are just starting, probably a startup that you are building, and it involves people, users uploading files there. So you bought, let's say, 4,000 terabytes of storage space in your data center. And for a whole year, the users that you had are using less than 40 gig. Then you realize that, oh, I've just wasted space, I've wasted the money and the like. But unlike that, for the cloud, if your user base is currently using just 40 gig, you make provisions for just the 40 gig. As soon as they increase, even within a space of a minute or two after that usage had increased or even peaked, you can optimize it to just take care of the rest. So that is a selling point for the cloud. Yeah.
Okay. Great, 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 great. So the next one is you purchase the right computing platform.
Mhm.
You purchase the right computing platform. So on that, we realize that we have five computing platform. We have the on-demand, We have the reserved, we have the scheduled reserve, we have spot instance, we have the dedicated host. So based on what you are going to do, then you purchase what you want. So for example, when you look at on demand, for example, on
Mm-hmm.
demand is very expensive with regards to the pricing level. It's very expensive. So, and one thing that comes with on demand is you don't know the exact amount of resources that you need. So we go for on demand because we don't know, maybe we are starting afresh. We don't know how much compute power the servers, memory, what have you. We don't know how much compute power we need. So we can leverage on demand and realize the amount for some time. And after that, we stick to like we can reserve some. We can
Mm.
reserve some. So that moves us to the reserve type. If you know the amount of resources that we need, we can rely on reserved instances. Also, we have a scheduled reserve. Okay, so we have the reserve. We have three types. We have um the standard reserve, which is the lower one, and we have the convertible reserve, which can change in the course of it. The standard one is very cheap, but then it cannot be changed. But then in the convertible, we can change it when there is a need for us to go to a higher size or a higher compute power. We can rely on the convertible. And finally, we have the scheduled. When we are working with something that we know that at this period we can we have to wait maybe a batch, we have to process something. Maybe we know exactly that at this period we have to do this, then we can purchase a scheduled reserved instance to do that for us. Then spot instance as well, when we can rent somebody's spot, we can rent somebody's AWS. How do I put, they have free resources there that we can rent for a specific period of time. But then what happens is they can take it back any moment. That's what happens. They can take it at every moment they need it. So spot instances is very cheap. So in spot instances are valuable that when you want to use it, you actually consider the kind of work that you want to do with it. Because if there is a work that is crucial to business need, then you don't go in for spot instance. And finally, I think we have the dedicated host. The dedicated host, you are dedicated to only you to use it. So that's it for
Mm.
my end. So
No, okay. Yeah, so I agree with what you have said about them, and I think computing is like the backbone of every. I don't know, probably I should say so, but I'm not too sure. But I feel it's the backbone of every data center because
yeah, sure.
your programs running, everything that
Yeah,
is happening,
everything
you need
starts with
some form of computing or
yeah,
computing power.
yeah,
But then if you were to establish your own data center, it means that you'd have to pre-estimate how much computing power you require to help you purchase the right kind of CPUs for that matter to do that. But unlike that of the cloud permits us to choose various compute powers, okay, and they come with different costs. So once we are looking at cost optimization, our goal is choosing the right compute instance for the right job, or based on the cost and the activity that we want to be performing, for how long we want to perform it, and things like that. We based on that to decide. So just as you've explained the various types of instances that are available to us on AWS, the end user would have to make a decision. Okay? So I think that's where the work of the solutions architect comes in, to come and architect a better solution in order to help them reduce their cost as much as possible. Because if you don't know, you see, oh, yeah, on-demand instances are most expensive. So let me go for spot instances because they are the lowest cost. And you don't know, you are running your program and they give you alerts within the next 3 minutes. You are taking the instance away. So and if the work that you were doing is something very important and you can't lose it, then you get yourself in a phase. So that is why it's important for us to know each of these types of instances, and in terms of cost, performance, and duration. At least we should know how they are all affected. How is the performance like? How much am I going to pay for it? And how long can I use these services? Once we are aware of this, it will help us choose the right instance for the right job.
Hmm. Great, great. And step 4 is leverage on managed services and serverless options to minimize time and cost. I think this one also makes sense. We've explained that earlier.
Mm,
Yes, there is a need to go in. Amazon actually request, and then their best practices, their well architected framework actually
mm,
stress on that rely on this their managed and then the serverless options rather than
mm.
building your own infrastructure. Because if you build your
Okay.
own infrastructure, it means that it keeps on running at every moment. But then if you use the serverless, for example, when you are not using, it goes off. When people are not visiting, it's just idle. So Amazon requests that we use a managed service and then a serverless one. But and it even helps and it's
So
even simpler. It's even
okay.
simpler. Suppose you want to host a website,
Mm-hmm.
look at building. You have to get um, an infrastructure which is easy to deploy. Your web server on it. You have to database. You have to place your database.
Mm-hmm.
You consider caching, maybe Elastic Cache, and then
Mm,
you consider all those things, all those factors. You realize that it's tedious. But then when you leverage on a managed service, for example, Amplify, for example, you just have to upload your code, and that's all. You are online. Yes. So I think that's it about
mm.
leveraging on managed services and then serverless.
Yeah. I'm looking at another advantage. We here they've mentioned minimize time and cost spent managing compute services. But the other advantage that I'm also looking at is the fact that if you want to be using the once that you have to architect everything, then you should be also looking at involving personnel. I mean,
And
getting
like
extra hands involved. So hiring an architect, probably a
to
number of
design,
them,
yes,
developers, database
develop,
experts, like all those staff, like increasing the number of staff just to make sure that everything is working at every point in time.
mm,
And
yes,
I think
yes.
that is one of the reasons why we are moving away from the traditional
Sure,
data
sure,
centers to the cloud.
sure,
So
sure,
if there is
sure,
an option for us to cut down the number
sure.
of people or hands, because usually with the more people that you have working on a particular thing, the likelihood that there may be some
Sure.
mistakes here and there is high. So
Yeah.
using serverless and managed services offers us that advantage that in terms of cost, it has been mentioned, in terms of time, then also I think the number of personnel that we may need to keep an eye on would also be minimized.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Now, and finally, data transfer cost. Data transfer cost.
Mm.
Now, on data transfer cost, AWS charges for data sent between regions. So if you are sending data from one region to example, a typical example they give is using S3, there is a feature called cross-region replication,
Okay.
CRR, cross-region replication, in the sense that if I keep my data here, I can set it to be replicated in another region. The reason being, if there is a failure at my end, I can
Mm-hmm.
get access to those
Yeah.
resources at the other region and then leverage on Cloudfront to reduce data transfer costs between regions. This actually makes sense because when a person, if you utilize CloudFront, your data is cached across various points that people have to use it. Now, when it's cached locally across multiple regions, it means the transfer cost will reduce
Juice.
because every moment, if you don't do that, every moment somebody gets access to it, your cost is going higher, higher transfer cost. Accessing. People are accessing it frequently. When they access it frequently, it means your cost is going up. But then if one person access your resource and it's cached locally at the region where the person is, it means that if another person wants to access that same resource, it means the
You already
person
are.
gets just locally. I need not
Yeah.
go I did not go to where the thing originally is hosted.
Mm.
Then use the right connection. Now talk about the VPN and then direct connect. Realize that if you are working with mostly what happens is um, most organizations will use direct connect backed by VPN. But then a caveat is on it. If you are working with large sum of data, then you go in for direct connect. But then if it's not anything serious, like the transfer is not anything bigger, then you go in for VPN connection. Yeah. So that's it for
Mm.
step 5.
Yeah, I totally agree with, especially with the caching part or
Actually, yeah,
leveraging on that,
yeah.
because when you need to access data, let's say, well, with my knowledge on caching, especially using CDNs like the Cloudfront,
The content delivery.
is where you have, let's say, your files. We are in Ghana right now, assuming there is a data center for Amazon in Ghana, and we've stored our files in there. If somebody from, say, either the UK, the US, India, any part of the world wants to access it, like there is some kind of a delay coming here to come and pick the file and pulling it there, and coming to pick it and pulling it, that's transfer of data costs us, like it's going to cost us some amount of money. So by caching, it's going to be, if somebody accesses it for the first time, just as you said, it's going to be stored closer to them. So there is probably some other storage facilities like edge locations closer to the end user, that it will be cached there. They will keep a local copy of the file so that anytime another person wants to access it, they don't have to come back to the original source to come and pick it. And therefore, we reduce the cost associated to it. So I think
Mm,
that means that if we are going to be doing any setup, we should be looking at trying to minimize all of these costs, the costs associated with moving data up and down
mm, mm,
by
mm.
employing
Yeah.
some of these services like
Okay.
CloudFronts. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's very awesome. And then we look at, so we move on to budgets, AWS
Yeah.
budgets. So another means to control costs is to create a budget and stick to that budget. AWS budget help the organization stick to a budget with budget notification. Now, how the AWS budget work? The organization create a budget and set custom alerts. The budget is created in the AWS management console or within AWS billing console. When an organization gets close to exceeding its budget, an alert is sent.
Yeah.
This can ensure that an organization adheres to its budget. Additionally, the budget allowance can help an organization plan for future optimization of their network. For example, an organization may find out that due to use, reserved instances may enable large cost saving. This enables the organization to optimize cloud computing expenses. Now, what I want to talk about AWS budget is when we talk about budget, everybody uses a budget.
Mm.
Let's get away from the cloud now and give it a normal scenario. When you are paid at the end of the month, you budget how you want to spend your money. The
Mm-hmm.
same thing happens in the cloud. You budget, you put the money down. You see, you realize that this, when you are paid your salary, you realize that this is how much I'm paid. This amount goes to this amount goes to this one goes to this place. So in AWS budget, what happens is we can set an amount in our budget, a tool in the AWS billing console. We set it. Maybe in the month of April, I want to use $1,000 of resources. Now I set it. What happens is when I set that $1,000, I can set an alert so that if this budget reaches maybe 50%, alert me with an email or a
Yeah.
notification.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, I know what I'm using and I know how much I'm using. It alerts me you've reached 80% of your amount you stated, which means I have to be careful. I look and it breaks it down. You see the resources you are using. You realize the resource that is costing you the most. In that you rethink, oh, why is this resource costing me that much? Then if there's something you can do about it, because there are some resources, maybe you even realize that this even resource, I don't even need it. So why is it even costing me money? Then at the end of the day, you realize you can even take it off because that's how it is. There are resources that will make your budget go up, but then at the end of the day, you don't even need that resource. Then you take it off so that you stay within your budget. So
Mm.
that's it for my end with regards
Yeah.
to budget.
I agree with you. And just as you said, everyone knows what the budget is. Like everyone, in one way or the other, has budgeted for something before, especially when you have money at hand. And with the cloud, the AWS budget, as you said, what I personally like about it is the notifications that you get. Like you are exceeding your budget or you're about to exceed your budget. I remember that I set some budget limits of I think 0.001 or something dollars per day. Yeah, then by the close of the day, I'll get an alert that you're about to exceed. Meanwhile, I've not, I've been trying things only to just check if it costs amount of money within a certain number of hours. So I think it's a good thing and it helps you control them. So one critical example that we can give that makes having a budget, you set daily budgets. Okay.
Can you
And
repeat what you just said? You went offline for a second.
oh, okay, sorry.
Starting from
So,
how you can use it.
yeah, so I'm coming to cite an example, like one
Okay.
critical example that we should
Okay.
consider. You set a daily budget, okay, that you don't want to exceed, and you know that this is where our capacity is. Because when you are setting budgets, like you have in mind what your capacity is. So probably if it is compute, maybe you're using EC2, we usually use our EC2 for 2 hours, and this is what we use it to do. So essentially, we expect that this will cost us say $2 a day. For that matter, we've set a budget of a maximum of $2 a day. That means if we go beyond it, we should be alerted. In that
Mm.
case, if you end up turning on a EC2 instance and it's running, and you forget to turn it off, by the time you hit that $2, you get notification and you begin to wonder what at all is happening, that we have exceeded our budget of
Mm-hmm.
$2 per day. You now go to check it up and you realize that, oh, my EC2 instance is still
Ah,
running. Then
true,
you go and
true,
terminate it.
true,
But if
true.
you don't do that, then you leave it running. I remember some of us have bear, bought some posts that we weren't aware of and we had to pay. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very good. I think that was a lesson well learned, and ever since then, now I think the budget is helpful. At least it gives you notification to
Okay,
make sure
okay,
that you're not overusing something that you don't want to use. Yeah.
okay. And finally, look at AWS Trusted Advisor. Now, AWS Trusted Advisor is an online tool that helps an organization optimize its spending on the AWS platform. So, as the name states, advice a trusted advisor we can trust. Now,
Mm,
how the trusted advisor works? AWS Trusted Advisor scans and evaluates an organization's infrastructure. AWS Trusted Advisor compares an organization infrastructure to AWS best practices. It checks and compares our infrastructure that we have in our visual data center, in our virtual data center to AWS best practices and provides recommendations. This can improve performance, security, availability, and system cost. The organization evaluates the trusted advisor recommendation. The organization implements the appropriate recommendation from
mm,
AWS Trusted Advisor. This should reduce the cost or improve performance. And there are two
mm,
versions of Trusted Advisor for clients, the developer support plan and then the business support plan. Organizations with basic and developer support plans have access to 6 security checks and 50 service limits checks with Trusted Advisor. Organizations with business support plan or enterprise support plan receive 15 trusted advisor checks, 14 cost optimization, 16, 17 security, 24 fault tolerance, 10 performance, and 50 service limit. So this image shows us how it works. Now, when you are using the trusted advisor, there are 5 major things it considers: the cost optimizations, the performance, security, fault tolerance, and then security service limit. So what happens is the trusted advisor, whenever we visit it, we can set it to alert us. To alert us. Whenever we overuse something, realize that there is a caveat for service limit. We are going beyond this limit. There is a problem detected here. Maybe when there is a fault in your services, it can alert you there is a fault here. Check your EC2. Your EC2, maybe you have not even realized that your site is not working and you've not been contacted by anybody. You check and then for tolerance, you realize that your EC2 is not even working. Security aspect, realize that it can give you a suggestion that, oh, this user, you need to turn on MFA for this user. And there have been a breach in your network. Somebody has logged into your system and you detected that you check out that person. So it gives us some security measures and then cost optimizing. It suggests best practice for you that there are resources maybe you cited that example you are not even using, but then costing you. Trusted advisor can recommend to you so that you turn it off or on. So that's it for Trusted Advisor from my end. So if there's anything you want to add.
think the other would is the fault tolerance. So the system is checking, like, in case there is a problem, in case there's a problem, how will your architecture survive? Okay, so in terms of availability, like right now, if something goes down, have you configured it such that it will be rerouted to a different server? Do you have backup somewhere and things? So I'm guessing that the fault tolerance will give you insight into that, where it will suggest that maybe you need to create a backup here, you need to use Route 53 here, you need to do this so that anytime your service or whatever you are using goes down, whatever resource you are using goes down, there is like less time, or in a matter of seconds you are up and running. Okay, so that's where I think the advisor would advise you to help you build a more tolerant, or technically we'll say a more available
Available,
service.
highly available.
Yeah, highly available, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So that brings us to the end of cost optimization.
Mm.
So we go back to chapter 8 and continue with our labs.
Okay, but can we quickly take a look at the budgeting part?
That's fine.
Okay, that's the last. Is it part of the labs, or no? We should
I don't
just go into
I
the
don't
console.
think they have.
Okay, so let's just
So we have to
where would
create
we
one ourselves. We have to create one ourselves. Yes, we don't have budget, so we have to create one ourselves. I think we can do that.
today, my this budgets. Oh, this account. That's supposed to be an admin's account. First, I check from your end if you have permissions.
For the budgets. Okay,
Yeah. Otherwise, I have to log in with the root account.
the good account. Then no, you need permissions. Oh, really? I thought for administrative work you can do this. You need
Mm.
permissions. You have to use the admin.
There's no bill on it. Account cost. Okay, so budget. Sorry, budget.
You haven't created. You haven't created some.
Hmm.
You have some there.
This is the this is the budget I created some time back.
Okay.
0.01,
0.01. Hey.
and they said threshold exceeded.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, when was it exceeded? Daily. The period is daily. July. This was July 20th. July 20th. Budgeted cost and actual cost. Open
Zero
budgeted.
0.0.
It's 00. I don't know why they are saying exceeded. Because this is July 20th. The actual cost is 00. This is the budget. Then July 21st, July 22nd, which is today. Okay, so how do we create a budget? Let's start from there.
So you go to budgets
Create, yes.
and
So at billing on the left pane, there is budget. So budgets, then there is create budget. Create budgets. There is cost budget, which is a recommended one. There is usage budget. There is savings plan budget. Then there is reservation budget. With cost budgets, you monitor your cost against a specified dollar amount. So that one is just interested in how much you are spending and receive alerts when your user defined thresholds are met. Using cost budgets, the budgeted amount is set to represent your expected cloud spend. For example, you can set a cost budget for a business unit and then add additional parameters such as associated member accounts. Okay. Then there is usage budgets that monitors your usage of one or more specified usage types or usage type groups and receive alerts when your user defined thresholds are met. Okay. So by the budgeted amount represents your expected usage. For example, you can use a usage
it
budget to monitor the usage of certain services such as Amazon EC2. Oh, okay. And S3. So that does not have to do with the. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hi. Hi, Foster. Hi. Savings plan budget. Track the utilization or coverage associated with your savings plans. Oh, okay. So that's for specifically for savings plans. The reservation budget. Track the utilization or coverage associated with your reservations and receive alerts when your percentage drops below. Okay, so that's specifically for reservation or reserved instances and savings plans. Okay, can you hear me?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Did you see the message?
Mm,
Yeah, your screen keeps
the network, the network is really worrying. Yeah, so I think what we are going to work with right now is a cost budget, because the
Yeah.
rest you would need a lot of information to know your, let's say for the usage, you need to know for the past, maybe you compare your usage over time and you see that, okay, for the past few days or few months, this is how our usage has been. Therefore, let's set a cap here. Then you go and do that. And if you have savings plans and reservations or reserved instances and that's when you come down to use these ones. So commonly for starters like us, I think you would always want to go with, even it's the recommended one, and set a budget that you can pay for. So we are going with that.
Okay.
Enter your budget details. So you define the budget. That's the first one. The name, you give the budget a name. Then two, you budget amount. Select the period and whether you like to have a fixed budget or to specify a budget plan. Then enter your budget amount. Then step three will be scope your budget. That's optional. You can add dimensions of data to narrow on a set of cost information. For example, you could select a number of AWS services to track and work. Oh, I lost for staff. Okay, so this is the details. That's the budget name. Then set budget amount. You choose the period occurrences, daily, monthly, quarterly, annually. Then budget renewal type, recurring or expiring budgets. And start month budgeting method. Enter your budgeted amount. Then budget scope. So you can filter this budget to just be on a specific service. Okay. Say specific to EC2 so that we know how much our EC2 is spending in order not for us to exceed a particular amount. Yes, welcome back. I know my network is worrying you today. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me? Oh, Foster, are you there? Can you hear me? Oh, it's gone again. Okay. So from July 2021 to July 2022, this has been my cost of usage. 5.9 in November 2021, then 1.94 in December 2021. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I'm back.
Mm. Okay, so we can continue, right?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So just as we mentioned here, there are three steps to setting a budget: the budget's name, the budget's amount, then the scope. So budget's name, say, test budget amount. So to set the budget amount, we need to set the period. Is this budget monthly, quarterly, annually, or daily? So we'll go with daily. Then, is it recurring, or are we going to set an expiry date to it? Recurring budgets renew on the first day of every monthly billing period. Expiring daily budgets stop renewing at the end of the selected expiry. So let's say recurring. Then Budgeting method. First, create a budget that tracks against a single daily budgeted amount
Come
or auto
again
adjusted.
with this.
From what they are saying, there are two types of the renewal. We have a recurring budgets. That says that recurring budgets renew on the first day of every monthly billing period. So this is like it's going to continue. The budget is going to continue like forever.
Every
But with
year.
expiring budgets, you set an expiry date to it. So it's going to stop after the expiry date. So if I say, okay, maybe I'm going to use some service, a particular service for 1 week. So I want to check the budgets for that whole 1 week. I can set an expiry to it. So that after the expiry, the budget is done. Like we no longer want that budget. In fact, let me even choose the expiry. Since this is just a test, we can set that to expire.
Okay.
Let's go to August.
Maybe
We choose
within
August.
the period you are going to write the exam,
Yeah.
you can
So
set it to the, so we are
let's
using it
choose
to.
August 30th.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the method, you choose whether it's phased budget or auto adjusting. So with auto adjusting, it means Amazon will check how you are using it and adjust your budget accordingly. But we want to have a phased one. We choose what. They're giving us an idea of our usage, and over the past 30 0.00. The daily average over the past few days is 0.00. So we can set 0.01 as the budget. That means when we exceed 0.01, we will get an alert.
Asking for the entire month that you'll be
No,
using
no, this is daily.
daily.
You set yes daily. That means every day when you exceed that, you are going to get an alert. But this setting that you are doing or this budget that you are creating will expire after this date. So it
Yes.
wouldn't be active again after that date.
Okay.
Then with the scope, we can set maybe specific, maybe set our budget to specific services.
Services. Okay.
Say EC2, we want just this budget should apply to the usage of only E2, or we can set it to all the services.
Resource.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that is it. Then you go to next. Now configure alerts. How budget alerts work. Why create budget alerts? In order to be notified on the state of your budget, you can create up to 5 different alerts based on your budgeted amount. For example, create an alert to notify you when you have reached 75% of your budgeted amount. That's cool. How
Then
to
you
get
can create
started?
a maximum of what? 5
Five,
budget.
yeah, 5 different alerts.
Oh, okay.
Five, no, not the budget, the alerts for the budget.
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe you 100% to notify me so that you are in the know. So that's the
Okay.
5. How to get started? Start by defining alert threshold.
Okay.
It's how you like them to be notified. Alerts can be sent via, yes, so these are important. Email, AWS SNS, and AWS chatbots. The last time I was doing it, it was only the email and AWS SNS that I saw. The
Oh,
email I
okay.
know is free, but I think there is a charge to the SNS. I don't know the charge, but the last time I was trying something, I think there was a charge to SNS. So
Okay.
I don't know, like I'm not sure,
AWS
but
SMS. Budget SMS. Budget. SMS cost.
Oh.
They said the charges vary by destination country.
Mhm.
Amazon SNS also includes a free tier where users can get started with Amazon SNS for free. Now, to use that.
Mm.
It said it
For
varies
you,
because talking about it being varying, Africa will cost more, and in Ghana it will cost more. Mm,
so the first add a threshold. So add an alert threshold. When do we want to be alerted? This is say when we get to 75% of usage. Okay, so 75% of our budget, we
mhm.
should be sent an alert. Okay. This when your actual cost is greater than 75% of your budget, the alert threshold will be exceeded. Notification preferences. Okay. So email recipients. Which email do you want it sent to? This you can say about near at Hotmail. Sorry. Notify want to notify exceeded. Yes. So then you can add a maximum of 10 emails.
Oh, okay.
You can add a maximum of 10 emails for each of them to receive the notification. Hmm. See where we have this red line. I think that's where the alert is. Okay. So we set our budget to 0.01, but we set that 75% if we use up to 75%. So in a day, if we use about 0.08 or more, then we are going to get the alert.
Okay.
Then this is for the email. Let's see the SNS. SNS has no upfront cost. You pay based on the number of messages you publish, the number of messages you deliver, and any additional API calls for managing topics and subscriptions. Delivering pricing varies by endpoint type. You can go and view the
And this
pricing
one too,
details.
which means you're going to get it every day, right?
That is if you hit your
Yes.
budget every day.
Better.
Like you're not, yeah,
And
like
this period is possible we
we'll be using it to. Mm,
be in
my network, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I just came back. You went offline.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so we are not going to configure the SNS. Let's try it. I don't remember seeing it the last time. As the was alert time or Slack chat rooms of your choice. Wow. Hmm. To receive alerts via chatbot, you need to configure an Amazon SNS topic in the proper region. Authorize Slack and Amazon Chime to publish today's topic and specify the chat room to which budget alert should be sent. Once we are involving SNS, I think it will also involve cost. So for now, let's just go with the email. Can you hear me? Or am I offline? Again. Hi. Hi. Oh, this network today. Hello. Ooh. Can you hear me? Ooh, this
Yes,
network is bad.
yeah,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh
Today,
God.
dear. The
The other network is
the
not coming. Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi is
No,
hey that long.
sorry. I'm even scared. Mm-hmm. So we are choosing just the email, and I'm going ahead with it. Then okay, review.
All right, so
So that's all. And we create budgets. Great. Our budget has been created. Okay. You know, yesterday the site that I hosted, I didn't take it off, so it's still there. So this budget, once we
mm,
exceed it, the budget should tell us if it's bringing us cost. Okay.
I saw it. I saw
Oh, okay. So I think we are
the
done with
Cloudfront.
what? Yeah,
The
with the cloud
Cloud.
funds. Yeah, yeah. So
I'm
we are
asking
done
with
with
the
the
Cloudfront.
coming in.
With the Cloudfront.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one they will call.
Mm. But since yesterday, we haven't seen any cost. So
It
let's
says
see what
that
happens.
then it will cost.
Mm. But since
Mm, mm,
yesterday, we haven't seen
okay.
any cost. So let's wait and see when we get an alert from the budget. We know the costs.
Mm,
Anyway, so yeah, we are now creating the budget. I think it's a good experience.
all right. So the next thing you're going to do is to host the
Mm.
website again.
Mm. Okay, that was supposed to be a
Should I do it
chapter.
from my end or
Yeah, so you should share your screen, then do
yes,
it from your
since your
end.
net
Exactly.
can you see my screen?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
can you see my
loading.
screen?
Yeah, it's coming. It's loading.
Hello, Obed.
Yes, I can hear you. It's loading.
Okay.
You can hear me. My network.
Hey, I can hear
It's
you.
loading.
I can hear you.
Okay. Wait. I can see your screen now.
Asking, is it okay because I can see multiple?
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is. Well, unless you move away from there. No, because I
So
use two screens. That's why you don't see it like that.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Or
I
still?
can see your console home.
Is it okay? Or because from this place I
Oh,
can see.
yeah. No, no, no. When you come here, that's when you see the double double. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, where you go,
It's okay.
yes, here I can see your console,
Okay.
the console home.
So we're going to hide this thing. Hide. You're going to host a static website with S3, and then after hosting this website with S3, it's going to be a static website. After hosting, we use Cloudfront to cache it.
Okay.
So first of all, we go to storage. S3 simple storage is under storage. So we go to storage. So services, then we go to storage right here. Then we search for S3 here. So waiting for S. Our S3 bucket. And these are the buckets we have in our S3. I can see we have first site, we have test bucket obed. So what we need to do is to create a new bucket. So we go create
Okay.
bucket, and the name of the bucket is test website.
Yesterday, I forgot about the I think there is it a rule or you are about to make the same mistake. Test websites will not be available because this is a global service, and someone might by now have used test websites
Okay,
already.
okay,
So
okay,
you have
okay.
to use a more unique. Yeah.
First site, a first. That's what I used earlier. First website. First website. I think this will work. And then you choose your region. You maintain North Virginia East, and the US is one means we are taking a zone, availability zone. So we are taking US East one. We choose copy settings from existing bucket. We don't need it now. Ownership, the ownership. Are you going to enable or disable the ACLs? Obed,
Mm,
the ownership.
yeah.
Should
Yeah, I
we?
think it has. Um, I think it's the disabled. The what's I can't really read from your screen. What's written under the enabled?
So all objects in this bucket are owned by this
Aha.
account. Access to this
Yeah.
bucket and its object is specified using only policies.
Aha. So it's owned by this account here. So that is it. It should be disabled.
So man, we are going to use policies and then public access. We want to see it available on the internet. We have to make sure we unclick
Yeah,
block all public access so that we go
exactly.
public.
Exactly.
Then over here, they want to make sure that you understand what you are doing. So AWS recommend that you turn on block all public access unless public access is required. Fortunately or unfortunately, we need public access. So we make sure we take this. I acknowledge that the current settings might result in this packet and object within becoming public. Okay. Versioning. we don't need versioning here. Tags, we can decide to tag, but then we don't need tagging here. Default encryption, we have types of encryption. So we have server side, and in S3 we have server side encryption, but we are not going to enable it here. Or do you think we should enable it? Test. Obed, should we enable the
Disable it for now.
okay,
That's for
okay,
if you enable it, you'll be asked to enter encryption keys for objects that you are putting in it.
okay. Then we create our bucket.
Yeah.
So our bucket is created over here. First website. So I enter into it. Now, what are the properties here? Outfit, object log. So these are the properties for our bucket. Now, the next thing you are going to do
You
is
have to upload the files or objects as they are referred to into the bucket.
upload our website. Now, I'm going to add an enough. Do I locate this? Okay. Uh, project, project, project. Okay. Felicity Hotel right here. 31 file. Okay, upload. Mission properties. So we upload our file. 1.5 megabytes. Transfer rate 11.7 kilobytes per second. So we cross our fingers as it uploads for us. So down here, you realize that we have to, but whilst it awaits to be succeeded, it remains pending. So you see, we have a lot of succeeded coming in.
Mm.
You realize the type of file, and then the name of the file. You can see the name of the files here. So if you encounter an error, you realize it will happen under this
Okay.
section. 77. $98. You're almost through. Perfect. You are through. So
Okay.
we're done with our upload.
So we need
So
to
now
grant the
the
public
permission.
access.
Yes.
There's
All right. Properties. Okay. So we come to our website, a permission. We have to add the policy,
yeah bucket solution.
but then before we set the policy, let's set it first and let's see what happens. See. Use the generator. So the policy generator allows us to create a policy.
Mm.
Now we select over here, select the type of policy. We want S3 bucket policy.
No,
What is the effect that we want? We want it to allow what the principal is
exactly.
or,
It's
and then the action,
all the objects. Yeah.
yes, or the action.
Action is get object.
Get object, we can either choose all options or we can be specific with get object. Okay, so get objects. One action, you realize is stated here, one action selected, and we have to input our
Yeah.
resource name here. So we go back to our buckets over here, bucket ARN, which is Amazon resource name. We copy it, we paste it here, and it generates a policy. We click on it, and a policy is generated for us. So we copy our policy, we come back to our bucket and paste it right here. Once we paste it, we save the changes to take effect. An error has occurred.
Yeah. Let me show you where it is. The resource name. The resource where you have the resource after first website put the slash put a slash followed by an asterisk that is granting you access to all the things inside.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So, okay, save changes. We still have an error.
Mm. What else is there?
So the ID, version, the statement ID, the action is to get objects, effect is allow, resource, post website, slash all. So what do you think will be the issue here?
Yesterday
Or
when I
maybe,
started, I had a similar issue, but
okay, so I think we
after
have to, there is something we have to do before. Okay, so make it normal
which one?
access point. I think it should be permission. The
Enabling
static we have,
static hosting or what?
yes, yes.
Yeah, we could even do it after. I don't know why um, the policy.
See? Okay, so let's enable the static website. Enable index.html. Okay. All right. Save changes. Now I come back to permissions. Then update the policy. Okay. Dash all. Still have an error here. Let's see what might be
Oh,
the
can
issue.
the drop down the API response and listen.
API response. Policies must be valid JSON and the first byte must be uh did I not do that? Yes, the first byte is this. So this, and you have the closing tag. So that's it. Or you need to
Yeah.
generate a new one.
Let's no wait. Let's do something with regards to where the action is. Remove the square brackets that's around here. Remove the square brackets.
Around the action.
Yeah,
Around the action.
yeah. So bring it on the same line. So pull the S3 gets objects to, yeah, and the comma as well.
Okay.
Now let me see.
Error
I still get to
occurred.
listen.
Policies must be valid JSON and the first byte must
The
be
first byte must be
column 3 and then 12. Hello?
I will compare. Let me compare to 19.
Is there?
Uh, hold on. I'm doing a comparison to what worked for me.
Oh, okay.
Go back to your yes. Okay. Let me compare.
Policy.
We
Yes, yes.
have statement this
Statement ID
SID.
and action S3 get object. Effect is allowed. Resource is the name of the bucket with slash all.
Yeah.
And the principal is all.
The only different thing that I can see is the arrangement
What?
or in
Can you repeat that? Hello, Ben.
the yeah. I said
You
in
said
my
the
the
only
version came
difference.
before the send you a screenshot of my on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yesterday I was
Yes.
I, I went online to grab one that someone has created, then I made the changes.
Okay, I've received it. Version comes first. So let me change it and let's see.
Okay.
Action, statement, event, version. The arrangements are different.
Yeah. But there is some space before your comma after the action. So kindly check that out.
After the action, this one.
Yeah, there's a
Let me follow this arrangement too and see.
okay.
Statement ID, action, effect, X, principal, action.
Leave. You see, there is a syntax error on line 9. Leave a space between a column and the quotation mark. Let's see. Oh, it's gone.
Okay, I've sorted them out.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
Still,
Hey. Now what's happening?
version ID, statement. Oh, mm, mm, mm. Find action. Uh, 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 uh. Or let me go back to this. Is there something I didn't do? Let me redo it and see. Maybe if there's something. Okay. Oh, 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 oh. Let me generate the policy again. The resource is S3 buckets. Effect is allow. Principal is all.
If you try and it doesn't work, go to Google and type sample S3 buckets policy. Then copy that one, come and paste, then replace the ARN with your own.
My yeah. Okay. Let me try once again and see. Get objects.
Give me a few seconds. Let me.
All right.
I'm going to put something.
Object. Get object. Okay. So, Obed, are you there? So now it worked. I don't know why it didn't work initially. Oh boy. So these are the challenges we encounter when we are working on resources in the cloud. So now let's test and see. Since we've set our bucket to hosts, so our website. So let's see. No such key. Access denied. Okay. Machine. Okay. So properties. Encryption. And all these.
Have you made progress?
Yes, it worked. I finally. Do you know? I don't know.
Okay.
The all. I added the all for the principal, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing is not working. The link is not working. So I don't know.
The what about the resource? Did you add the slash asterisk to the resource?
Yes, and I don't know. See something. I think this one. When I open the website, you see everything need to be here. There shouldn't be a folder here, right?
No, scroll down. Let me see. Okay, it's all a folder.
Yes. So I
There.
think
Hmm. Oh, okay.
I have.
Okay.
You
So
see.
let's
So it,
see the link.
or I should
Uh,
add okay, Felicity Hotel to the link.
yeah, try that next time.
Okay. Website.s3. Website. Website. Slash. Oh, let me pick this thing here. Slash. Slash. No. I think it's from here.
Well,
It's from here.
but can't you move them?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So if you add the folder name, it should come. I'm
It
opening it
seems
here. Mhm.
first
I've opened it on my end. I've opened it on my end.
you've opened what?
Your website.
It's working.
Mm.
Yeah.
With the folder name. With the folder name.
Mhm.
I'll be back and come.
Okay. 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 Mhm. So remove it. Destination type bucket S3 is to bucket name force website. Okay, so host website. Okay, good. Move. Okay. Oh, host website. So yes, Obed, you are back.
Finally, yes.
Do you know? I think we can learn something along the way. Uh, so first of all, with regards to so that we don't repeat the same mistake in the near future, when you are creating the policy, when you are creating the policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The slash all that you told me
Mm-hmm.
to add, it should be there. That's what I did. And then the next
Okay.
issue was with the bucket. Realize that I uploaded the folder, I uploaded a folder within a bucket.
Yeah.
Do you understand
Oh,
it?
it actually worked though, except that you need to add the name of the folder.
Change the name. Change the name. I tried it at my
The,
end. It didn't work. I tried it at my
oh,
end.
it
You
worked.
tried it. It
It
worked
worked.
at your end.
Yeah,
Okay, so what
it
I did
worked.
was
I
I
even
made
sent you. I even sent you a
an
screenshot.
image of it. Oh, okay, I haven't checked.
Mm.
Okay, so
But now that
oh,
you've pushed it, it means I have to go back to access it, and it's coming.
mm. So the next thing is we're going to
Please, are
link it to
invited.
Cloud. Charlie,
Mm.
it give me. You are invited. How can I come and eat? So
I can send
CloudFront.
you some.
We are going to use CloudFront to cache it, right? A
Mm-hmm.
CloudFront is a global content delivery network. So we've discussed about CloudFront earlier. So we create a distribution, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Hey, I should have taken. Okay, let me do something like this. I need to work. I need to take
The Aaron. Oh,
the ARN. Yeah. All right. So CloudFront origin. So the origin is here. First website. Origin path. There won't be a name because since I've taken the name directly. Origin. What's this? OAI. Do you know what it does?
OAI.
Call it origin something something
Yeah.
identity. I used to have it here. CloudFront. Oh, CloudFront. Origin access identity.
Mm.
Origin shield. So, okay, we have the shield here. We can add shield here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so origin shield is an additional caching layer that can help reduce the load on your origin and help protect its availability. So it's about security. Compress objects. Viewer protocol policy. We use both HTTP and HTTPS. Allowed HTTPS get and then head. Okay. Restrict viewer. No. Cache policy. Mm. Is there any crucial setting we have to give to this?
I don't think so.
Use all
I
locations.
think they are all default.
Use all. AWS WAF web across. Choose the web across. None. Web application firewall. On item. IP version 6. Okay. Create distribution. So we change the region and then sign in from there, right?
Well, right now we have a new URL that you use to access it. So you have to copy
Yeah.
that URL, the
Yeah.
distribution domain name. Then you can
It's
use.
deploying. It's deploying. That's
Oh,
why we
okay,
try.
okay.
It's deploying.
So you open incognito and try it there.
Okay. When it's done deploying, we copy distribution domain name. So supposing we have, so this was the last time I think we talked about this. Uh, if you want to use a domain name which is outside AWS instead of using Route 53, if you want to use domain to host it, a domain name,
Mm-hmm.
is that possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Where you put the URL to the where you select the S3 bucket, you could have entered the
Because
domain name
what,
there.
what I know is where it's hosted, they have to generate certain things for you to be included in your how do you call it, in your DNS, right?
But I learned with the cloud funds, they don't give like you don't have to go and change your name service.
Mm.
Yesterday I was reading on the comparing Cloudfront to what I use for my website. That's Cloudflare. With
Mm-hmm.
Cloudflare, you have to go and change the name service to that of Cloudflare. But with CloudFront, they said you don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have to do? You just use the domain name and
Mm.
maybe the ARN.
So yeah, something like that. But it won't have an ARN per se, but it will have. I think just
Domain
the
name.
original origin domain. You enter
Mm-hmm.
it there because it says choose an AWS origin or enter your origins domain name.
Mm-hmm.
Then enter a URL path to append to the origin domain name for origin request. Then you give it a name. I
So
think
we
it should
can
work.
we can restrict some countries. Okay, you know something? We are going to geographic restriction. Let me finish. When it works, we are going to restrict Ghana. and see.
No, okay.
Yeah. So okay, so it's done. I copy the domain name incognito, then I paste it. Denied.
But is it has it fully deployed?
Yes, 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 it has.
What's happening?
Origin, we have S behaviors, HTTP, invalidation. Access denied. Cloudfront. Okay, open Cloudfront console, select your Cloudfront, then choose distribution settings. Cloudfront, Cloudfront, select Cloudfront distribution. Okay. In the CloudFront console, select the CloudFront distribution. CloudFront, CloudFront. Distribution, distribution, settings, origins, origins, and group tab. Origins and group review the domain name, domain path. Okay. Origin group, origin group tabs. Origin group, origin name, domain, origin name, and then origin domain name, origin domain name and path. Origin domain name and paths. They are on. You have to behavior, origin, domain name, and domain path. If the origin and the format of yes, if name that okay, the format bucket name S3 Amazon.com doesn't work for regions launched in 2019 or later.
Why is this not working? Because yesterday when I did mine, it worked. Maybe you should try it again and let's see if there is a set to enable that was disabled.
Okay, access denied. All right. So with the later distribution, disable first. Okay, we have to disable it first before we can delete it. Ah, disabled. Okay, creating a new distribution host website. Okay, now we'll say podcast. Choose all edge location. Quick distribution. Okay. Hey, it's 12. Charlie, I should leave you for you to go and prepare for your class.
Let's try finishing this one now.
Deploying. Cool. Yeah, it's still deploying. Okay. So access denied.
That's strange.
It works fine on the S3, but then on the Cloudfront, it's not working. That's
I'll be back.
okay. Origin.
How far?
Charlie, so the thing is not working.
Wow. Hmm.
I've created
Then I
another one.
guess.
I created another one, but still, so it's 12. So let me leave you
Yeah.
to prepare for your
Yeah.
class, and I'll find a solution to it and update you on it.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Mm,
Thank you
so,
so much for your time. I'm sorry about the network.
oh, Charlie,
Hopefully, the next time it
I'll,
won't be
yeah.
so.
Okay, Charlie.
All right. Thank you. And
See you
bye.
later.
All right. Bye.
So you update me on our next schedule.
Okay. Sure. I will.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.